This video is about the students' project from Rundbackaskole, Edsbergsskolan and Georg-Christoph-Lichtenberg Schule, and about the Erasmus Plus project, All Inclusive. The All Inclusive project aims to bring students and teachers from different countries together, to learn from each other, to understand diversity as a great opportunity, and to include everyone in the process. The student projects included a range of different topics. The groups started their project work digitally and continued working together when they met in person during the student exchanges. So we met several times in video conferences, and we could meet in real. The student projects were related to several subjects like English, history, arts, math, and science. English. There were two projects like writing fairy tales and food and culture. Writing fairy tales. As a first step, both German and Swedish students started to write an own fairy tale. After a while, they sent their draft to the others who finished the story. Here you see an example about the dandelion. The students draw pictures to illustrate their fairy tales. During the visit in Kassel, they presented their story on the roof of Brüder Grimm Museum in Kassel. It was a sunny afternoon in March 2022. Food and culture. We asked the students, what is typical for your region? Which food is famous for your country? Which traditions are well known in your country, and what do you recommend? The students collected different recipes and tried to cook or to bake it themselves. They described famous German and Swedish traditions. Here you see one video as a result. And here's another video about Swedish Lucia.
Hur firar du Lucia?
Jag firar nog inte Lucia skulle jag säga.
Firar du när du var liten?
Jo men då var det väl mer den där att man skulle köra ett Lucia-tåg i skolan eller så. Men jag har aldrig riktigt firat det mer än.
Oj, jag firar Lucia med familjen. Vi brukar dricka lite glögg och äta lussebullar och pepparkakor.
Jag säger det numera, jag har ju så barnbarn. Så det blir till deras skola. Nu är det dagis. Och där de har omsorgande. Det börjar förändras.
Ja.
Jag vet faktiskt inte, jag har inget superstarkt minne. Kanske att man umgås med sina nära och kära.
In Sweden, next to every school and kindergarten do their own Lucia talk, where the kids sing traditional Christian songs, and the girl in the lead is called Lucia. Tänker du på när du hör ordet Lucia?
En martyr är vad jag tänker på, och svensk högtid eller tradition.
Modighet.
Tåg.
Tåg?
Lucia-tåg.
Okej. Yes. Jag tänker typ på någon person som går med ljusstake på håret så ingenting särskilt. Lite lussebullar.
Swedes love traditions. We even have our own days for the pastries on the Swedish fika table, such as Cinnamoroll Day. But most importantly, more important than all the sweets, is of course the coffee. Or at least that's what adults think.
Vet du varför man firar Lucia?
Bra fråga. Vad vet du?
Ja, man firar Lucia.
Största anledningen skulle jag tala egen erfarenhet och tradition. Och att man på något sätt försöker bibehålla någon diffust tradition med kristendom.
Fråga, varför firar man Lucia?
Many people celebrate Lucia without really knowing why or what we are celebrating.
Lucia is a saint born in Italy in year 283. During that time, people believed in witchcraft, and Lucia was killed as she was thought to be a witch. The 13th of December is today dedicated to praise her.
There are many different people in the Lucia trade. There is Lucia, Star Boys, Bridesmaids, Santa Claus, and the gingerbread man.
During this food and culture project, students talked about similarities and differences. Here you see a word list about what is typical Swedish and typical German. Another subject was history. Students worked about nationalism and racism, and they worked about historic sites in Kassel and Stockholm. Nationalism and racism. We chose this topic nationalism because we wanted something that is inclusive, but at the same time can be so exclusive. We think racism and nationalism are linked together and have a lot of things in common. Aggressive nationalism can easily transform into racism with a strong we feeling. Our similar thoughts. Culture. Community. We are better than others. And we as a people. Historic sites in Kassel. When I think about Kassel, I think about the Hercules. But of course it's not only the Hercules monument, there are also other historic sites in Kassel. During one of the visits, students and teachers could visit the World Heritage Area with the Hercules monument and watch the water games. Let's talk about arts. Kassel is famous for the Documenta art exhibition. Another students' project was building a castle with tessellations. Students worked around art pieces from former Documentas, for example, the sculpture Man Walking to the Sky. Here you see the original sculpture and what the students made of it. One of the groups could visit the Documenta 15 in September 2022. Building a castle. This project was supported by math and arts teachers. In the first step, there was a lot of theoretical work on online meetings, for example about tessellations. In the second step, there was the actual building process, done during the visit in Sollentuna. And there were two castles, the Drottningholm Castle and the Milkerkau Castle. In the final step, there was the presentation of the project during a show and tell meeting. The math groups worked about impossible structures and bridges, and they created an escape room, building a bridge. Here you see first ideas about the bridge design. The students want to use tensor-gritty structures, and they wanted to create a bridge with only wood and ropes, and that the resources are cheap. They want to use a low amount of resources. And then, at the end, the bridge was built with students during the visit in Kassel. The Escape Room Project. An escape room is a game for a group of people who have to solve problems to leave a room in a certain time. The hints for solving the task are hidden somewhere in this room. Some students invented an escape room. During the meeting in Kassel, all the other students had to solve mathematical and logical problems to open a box. It took some time, but finally they found the key and could open the box. Natural Sciences Project was about photosynthesis and how plants eat. First, the students had to collect information about photosynthesis from books, from their teachers, or from other sources. Then they had to understand the problem and find a good answer on the question how plants eat and grow. In the next step, which was the most complicated, they had to find correct English expressions for scientific idioms. Finally, they explained how plants eat in a video, which was presented in a show and tell session.
Maybe you've already wondered about how plants eat. If that's the case, you're thinking about the same thing that the Belgian scientist Van Helmont thought about in the 17th century. So, let's go back in time. In Van Helmont's experiment, a willow branch weighing 2.5 kilograms was planted in a pot with 100 kilograms soil. After 5 years, Van Helmont weighed the tree again. The soil weighed 99.94 kilograms, which means that the weight only reduced by 60 grams, while the willow tree's weight increased by 82 kilograms. As you can see, the mineral salt intake of 60 grams can't justify where the organic matter gain came from. In addition to the absorption of substances from the ground, there must be another form of substance absorption. This led to the question which role the air plays in the life of a plant.
At the end of the 18th century, Joseph Priestley wanted to figure it out based on Van Helmont's experiment. He put a burning candle into a locked container, and it went out very fast. Afterwards, he put a mouse into this container, and it sadly died. Then he put a living mouse and a burning candle into the container, and the candle went out faster, and the mouse died too. One day, Joseph Priestley decided to change a bit of his experiment as he put the burning candle into the container. Then, as usual, it went out very, very fast. But he put a mint in the container now, and unfortunately, after 10 days, he was able to burn another candle in it. So, Joseph Priestley had evidently figured out that the plant had given back the air component that animals need to survive.
And as a special guest during the whole project time, it was the coronavirus. Let's talk about Corona. We asked students and teachers, how did Corona affect you and your family? Did Corona change the society in your country? And how did Corona affect your language? Here's a collection from some answers. How did Corona affect you and your family? To be honest, it was the best time of my life. I could work efficiently and got more time for my hobbies for sports. My parents died because of Corona and now I have no one anymore. I lost my motivation for school, especially for homework. I guess it's even a closer family life due to the quarantines we had in Germany. Did Corona change the society in your country? The answers were very different. The Swedish said, no, not really much, I think. We have to go to quarantine if we got COVID. Masks were a recommendation to use, you didn't need to. And the Germans said, we had to do distance learning for a long time and couldn't meet friends after school. It gave exclusion of those who are not vaccinated or recovered. We supported each other more than in the past. How did Corona affect your language? A lot of new words, for example, Corona-Hund, many people got a dog during Corona since they stayed at home, and words that became more common, like Quarantäne. We talk casually about PCR tests, R values, exponential growth. Stoßlüften, opening all windows. Querdenker freitesten are new German words. Spaziergang changed the meaning. And positive is not really positive anymore. Let's talk about Corona. Corona had also an effect on our project. But finally we got a lot of fun and strengths and news and insights out of this all-inclusive project. And we did an amazing amount of awesome student projects.